one. Well, Tammy, it's such it's so neat to have you on the show today. We're talking about integrative cancer solutions, and obviously you've had quite a journey. I mean, tell me a little bit about you were diagnosed with cancer, and when did that happen? How long ago was that?
So in January 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 3 aggressive squamous cell carcinoma, I believe is how you pronounce it, along with something else. And I went into shock, literally. I live in a very remote area, and so I was flown to Seattle. And I remember them telling me the diagnosis, but it was like I really wasn't hearing it. I could not assimilate what they were saying. Fortunately, I was flown into a hospital out of Seattle and had an extremely talented oncologist, and she put together the team that I got radiation and chemo from. And had I had my head about me, I would have also immediately got involved with a naturopath, because that's just not part and parcel of that train of treatment. They don't look at that sort of thing. So I went through that, and I got out of chemo and radiation 4 months later.
And how did that kind of, because a lot of patients, a lot of people, they say that they get diagnosed and it's almost like you get pushed at, this is what you do, and everything just happens so fast.
That is correct.
Yeah, so you really don't have a lot of time to kind of think, should I do something different? And also it's pretty hard to then start to say that, no, I think this is, if we can do this, this would be better, when you have then the experts that are telling you that, this is the best for you.
Yeah, there was none of that dialogue. It was straight into the mapping, which they do for radiation, and straight into the testing, the blood testing for the chemo and all of that. There was no discussion whatsoever. I mean, between the time that I was diagnosed and the time that I went into treatment was, I think, 6 days.
It was that fast.
Like yeah, it was very fast.
And how
because,
do you wrap
they thought it was very aggressive.
Yeah. Oh, they said it was very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was their kind of what was their fear when they say very aggressive? Did they feel that this was something that was very treatable, or that they were going to be able to cure, or what were their?
It was very questionable. When I first found out, it was considered stage 3, and by the time we finally got into treatment, they were questioning if it was borderline stage 4. And it was, had they gone a different route and done surgeries and that sort of thing, they had questioned my survivability.
Okay.
So it was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So but meanwhile,
how did you feel with the chemo and the radiation? I mean, how did that go? Was that hard? I mean, what kind of frequency did they put you on?
It was every single day, every day, except for weekends. And so every morning most every morning at 8 a.m. I would be radiated in the radiation chamber. And once a week I would get chemo. They'd hook me up to chemo, and I'd sit there for, I think it was 6 hours every Monday.
And how did you feel during that process? Was that easy? Was it hard?
It was horrible. It was just, you could feel yourself being burned from the inside out. It was the most horrifying feeling. And they knew that, I knew that they were gonna take me down. They are trying to kill everything, and everything gets killed. And whether or not you come back is that's
Yeah,
where you have to run the challenge.
yeah. And
I don't know. It's one of the scariest things and most horrific things that I have ever been through in my life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Yeah, because
but the thing that really is the toughest part is knowing that you're being destroyed. Your body is being destroyed. And with each day, the first 2 weeks aren't too bad, and then it gets extraordinarily painful, and you start to lose the function that you have always thought you had.
Yeah.
Just basic things. You like walking across the street. I got to the point where I couldn't even walk across the street. I was burned so bad. So, there was a lot of things that you learn that your body, when you've never been through something like that, can actually repair itself, but you don't know that at the time.
No.
So it's very depressing,
Yeah.
extremely scary. I don't know how else to describe it.
And things like urination and I mean, how did that get impacted as well? I mean,
Oh yes. As far as I wasn't digesting food would just kind of go through me. And I wasn't eliminating food. I mean, properly. There was no when your insides are burned. I got radiation in my abdomen, and all of my internal organs got burned.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say, but our bodies aren't designed to be burned.
No.
They're just not.
No.
That's not how they function. So, I was told when I went into this treatment that I may have long-term effects. That's just it. And so that was the trade-off, possibly having long-term problems or a cure.
Yeah.
I mean, a cure meaning that, 5 years. Most of the time this comes back. But in case.
And so with and how long did you do this therapy with the chemo and the radiation, did you say?
4 months.
4 months. You started back in June.
In January.
In January.
And I got out in April.
Okay. And how, when all was said and done, I mean, did you lose appetite, lose hair, lose
My hair got extremely thin. I mean, very, very thin. I look like an even older lady than I do now. Very thin. It was very interesting. And I tried to work with some dietitians, but what's interesting is that they found the cancer by pumping me full of glucose, which that's what the cancer cells go after when they do a PET scan. And, it lights up everything. Well, 1 + 1 = 2. You don't eat sugar and expect to cure yourself, right? Well, not only that, but the dietitian that they sent me was most of her information was very outdated. It was very interesting. And the new stuff that came out was more along the keto, paleo thing, clean, eating and no sugars or very little sugars, if nothing else, just fresh fruits and very limited fruit. But the problem is that my system wasn't digesting it. I wouldn't accept it because I'd been burned. So I tried to find several naturopaths who would be able to deal with that. And most of them aren't. They're not equipped to deal with the chemo and the radiation. And so that's how I came to be with your organization, is because somebody had said that you were able to deal with cancer. And I thought, well, if you're able to deal with cancer, and then I found out that you guys were able to deal with the integrative portion of it, being able to deal with somebody who had gone through the radiation and chemo, and yet be able to put their system back together and understand the process of bringing that system back online. So.
And what did that, so when you were all done, I mean, with the chemo radiation, I mean, like you said, you were burnt, you were dealing with pain, you had a hard time walking across the street, food was going through you, but where were you at with the cancer after treatment? Did they kind of monitor, did they do any imaging at that time?
Yeah, I got imaging, for the first 6 months, every 3 months, and then I moved to every 6 months, and they're still, I am still on an every 6 months schedule.
Okay.
That they do imaging.
And so you then contacted my center, and what did we do? I mean, what happened?
What you guys first of all did was get my digestion and my elimination system back online, without drugs. So what you did for me is not give me a bunch of chemicals to try and put a Band-Aid over it or a patchwork, but rather give me stuff that my system could start assimilating and start healing, so that I can eventually be up and rolling on my own in a healed system.
And I'm curious, why did you look for like a naturopath or look? I mean, didn't you feel that the traditional route was sufficient?
The traditional route was not sufficient. After dealing with the medical doctors that I had dealt with, what they wanted to do for pain, what their responses were from some of the issues that I had been dealing with, I ended up with a full bag of scripts, and it's like that's just no way to live your life. I wasn't going to live my life on drugs. And the other portion of it is they didn't have any answers for not being able to digest food, other than, maybe you need to see a psychologist. It's like, you know what? I don't need to see a psychologist.
You just burnt
me. Food's not digesting.
Yeah, you just burnt me. I don't need a psychologist for that.
So that was kind of clue number 500, that I needed to go elsewhere. But what's interesting is, in the United States, it's very difficult to find the talent that will look at what we deem as mainstream to address cancer and these different types of cancers, and to find the talent to be able to take that and go, okay, we have a mess, and we have somebody who's burnt and poisoned from the chemo. So how do we bring that system back online? And that takes a different discipline and different understanding of the human body than just Western medicine, which is the man-made drugs, and they like that, and it fixes the symptoms, so it makes the patient go away, and and then they can go on to the next one. But the other piece of it is that it takes a lot for a person to go down this path, because it's not just about your talent and your organization that was able to get me here. It was so also things like, doing a rebounder every day, and doing dry brushing every day, and doing, walking, I don't care if it's 100 feet, until you get to a point where your system is in fact up and running. And so for me, that was the way I needed to go, because I did not want to be on drugs for the rest of my life.
And why was walking and dry brushing? I mean, why was that important to you?
Dry brushing and rebounding moves the lymphatic system, which is part of how I believe I got sick, was because that system wasn't flushing and moving, fluids through. It wasn't eliminating this junk, and so it got stuck. And when that system gets stuck, then you can't flush all the toxins. It's just not moving.
Yeah.
So that's why it was important. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it other than what those systems do for people and what their function is in us. And if you can't walk, you're not mobile, you can't be doing anything. If you can't flush your system and get the toxins moving, you're going to get sick all over again. So all of that stuff came into play. But it took you guys to figure out how to start building my system and mending it to be able to allow me to do that stuff.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, cancer lives in a terrain, and if you change that terrain, then cancer cannot survive there. And so it lives in a toxic terrain. So by cleaning out the lymphatic, like with the dry brushing and rebounding, and then obviously walking is really important as well for that whole process. Then yeah, you're moving, you're creating a cleaner environment where cancer has a harder time to express itself. Yeah, so that was amazing. So we did a bunch of stuff then for your gut, and I mean, how's your gut doing now?
It's terrific. When I first came to you guys, I literally was pretty well housebound because I couldn't function. I couldn't. I didn't know from one minute to the next if my body was going to stay together or if I was going to eliminate in an inappropriate place or manner or whatever. And so I couldn't go any place. So not only did I have the cancer that I was trying to recover from and deal with, but then there was this whole other aspect of the aftermath. It's like, okay, so you destroy your body to do what? To be homebound because you can't go any place? It was awful. Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely horrifying. And you become really isolated. And when you do that, of course, then you start losing your support, and then you start losing your ability to, look beyond where you're at and continue to try and build and grow. And you start heading down a bad road.
I mean, and that's the thing is that the mental. I call it's not only me, but a mentor of mine, Dr. Paul Anderson. He always pushed for the three fundamentals or the three pillars in regards to cancer, and movement is one, diet is one, and then your attitude, your mood is another one, and these are three crucial components that you need to build any kind of treatment on, those three fundamental pillars. And so if your mind is going down a dark path and you're not able to move around much, then you've cut out two of those pillars, and then it's hard then to recover with that. So yeah, that's huge.
God forbid I ever have to do it again, but if I had to, or if someone that I loved or knew, I would certainly, if they chose to go the chemo radiation route, I would definitely get them into more integrative therapy. The challenge, though, becomes that a lot of the chemotherapy and radiation doctors do not want the patients taking the supplements because they feel that it hinders what they are doing.
And what are your thoughts about that?
I think it's a bunch of baloney. Because if you can, I'm not talking about dumping, the human body full of all of these barriers for what they're trying to do, but rather there's so much that you as a naturopath can bring to the table to mitigate some of the really horrific fallout. But that sector of the medical field really doesn't want to share that. At least that's the experience that I went through.
Yeah.
So that's really sad, because I would have been a lot better off and a lot farther ahead had I been able to bring you into the loop, or, a lot sooner.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see that again and again, that if you combine the two in an effective way, the outcome is always, I mean, from my experience, has always been better. So now, your gut is doing great, and then how about the cancer? I mean, what's going on there?
Well, so this was considered 2 years out, and I am cancer free. I was actually told by my doctor, by the oncologist, that I am cancer free. So I'm just going to take that. I think it's terrific. But again, they're keeping me on a short leash. It's every 6 months, and I get to go in and get my pictures, and we'll just go from there.
And we did, so yeah, we did all the imaging, and they didn't find anything there. And then we did all the blood markers, that relates to cancer, and everything just looked awesome there.
Yeah, well, that's what you said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, so we did. Yeah, there's a lot of cancer or I should say, kind of inflammatory markers that you want to look at. Like LDH, C-reactive protein, fibrinogen, and then depending on which cancer, then you have the different cancer antigens. Like if it's 125 or 199, or the different ones depending on which cancer that an individual has. And then you can also look at the HCG, and you want to look at adrenal function, kidney function, and there's so many different markers that's good to look at. And you've passed with flying color in all of them.
Yeah. But just what you were talking about, I at the end of my treatment of radiation and chemo, I had asked similar questions about the inflammation, because I had read about that. Believe me, in your downtime, you don't get to go skateboarding or skiing or anything. It's like, that's not part of it. So you do a lot of research. And when I had asked about inflammation and how food is part and parcel of the inflammation, I was told that wasn't a concern. Yeah, so that's where it's really too bad that we can't, with all the cancer going on, that we can't get more of a dialogue between Western medicine and the, I don't know, chemo, radiation, or whatever the treatment of the day is, along with what you do. That is just awful. That is not more integrated.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm hoping that a lot of these shows, in addition to give hope to people that are diagnosed and recognize that there is a path, and also then look at paths that other people have taken that have been successful, so that they can maybe emulate those paths in order to be able to achieve good results, but also kind of see that there's a place for both, meaning that it's not all just holistic all the time, and it's not all medical all the time. It's something that if we can bring the best of both worlds, we can then maximize the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Yeah. So, well, congratulations.
Thank you for all your help.
Good job.
Well, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure to work with you, and I'm excited to keep you, so we can have this conversation, 20 years from now.
Yeah, that would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yes.
That means you're going to retire.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Tammy. It's been so lovely to have you on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you.